Hi, everybody. We got a special guest today. It's going to be a really good podcast. It's Hayden Grady. He's my future son-in-law. And how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent.
All right. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing good today. Yeah. And for those who don't know, this is also Archer, a.k.a. Archie's dad, if you ever see any of the social media videos. So, yeah. But happy to have you here. It's been long awaited, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Well, I had that little appearance.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you did.
A couple podcasts ago.
Yes, so.
Before we moved.
So Hayden currently is in his second semester at the University of Toledo, correct?
Yeah.
And so what we're going to get into today, how old are you? Are you 21 or 22?
22.
22. And you're in school with aspirations to become a doctor in the future, and you have a son who's a little bit over 1 year old. So we're going to get into all that, kind of how you got there, and just other tips maybe for people. You're very busy with stuff and how to stay organized, on track, and especially I think with college, figuring out everything, the path to getting into med school, and then one step at a time.
And just about even for those of you in high school, Hayden's a good example of somebody who has now started college. It's a whole new aspect of his life. And I'm just interested to hear how your first 2 semesters have gone. I know you've been studying a lot. You're nailing it on grades, it sounds like. And I think people would like to know how you're doing that, making Dean's List and maybe about how you chose what you think you want to go into and how are you going about it in college? Are you talking to a counselor or did you do it on your own or, just stuff like that?
Yeah. So we'll dive into all that, but let's first start with going back a little bit. So, grade school, high school. How was school for you growing up and in high school, would you say?
Honestly, I was not the exemplary student. I really love science. I always have. I remember having a science teacher in middle school that really put up with me being the class clown that I was and didn't hold it against me and that really helped me and he kind of fostered that interest. But yeah, overall I don't remember doing any homework over from second to probably 10th or 11th grade, just remembering what I heard in class and just doing well enough on tests I didn't have bad grades. I didn't do anything extra outside of school. I wasn't a big.
You just kind of got through. You got through stuff, kind of not too bad. Not.
Yeah. So you can't remember doing any homework?
No. Very little.
But okay, so. And then, but that's true. Different
I'm joking around with you.
How stuff are, and like you said, I think a good point is everyone can remember that a teacher or two from when you were growing up that had an outsized impact on you, like you were describing. So that's cool to hear. And so, what happened in high school and beyond high school?
So high school was pretty middle of the road, and I'm a non-traditional student, so I've worked for the past couple years and kind of just doing odd jobs here and there. And I've done some jobs that were okay, but nothing that truly interested me or I had a passion for.
It was more so to just get by.
Yeah,
it's not a long-term career you were thinking about.
No, I did a couple things that for as far as the median income goes, it was pretty good money for the average American, but it's not. That wasn't enough to keep me interested. To me, playing one of the jobs that I have done, I still do part time here and there is estimating for an asphalt company. It's my family's asphalt company, but to me, sitting behind a desk all day is not something I can see myself being excited to do.
Yeah. So what drew you to medicine, do you think, or wanting to do medicine longer term?
Well, I think that there's it's glorified in media for sure. So that's just something the average kid you ask, they have the you have the fields like, oh, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a doctor, like these things these careers that are propped up, and then the more and more that I have really gone into like my science classes, medicine's always been an interest of mine, but I think now more than ever I have like an example in my life where it seems more real than the picture that I had growing up, because the picture I had growing up was like, I didn't know any doctors personally. The only time I ever interacted with doctors was like my pediatrician as a kid, and that was once every 6 months.
You only got to see it through being a patient for the most part, or what you see in pop culture, such as in movies or TV shows.
I mean, is there anything personal in your family or life that drew you to anything specific?
Yeah, I mean,
anything in your family that's happened, or?
So my family has a pretty long history of cancers on both sides, but something that was specifically drew my interest was my aunt had pancreatic cancer, and the last, I want to say like month of her life it was all palliative care, but it really kind of opened my eyes to like how much impact somebody that's giving you care has. Just being able to give somebody a treatment plan in that sort of crisis is particularly interesting to me.
Yeah.
So that's a bit about why you wanted to get into medicine. So after you realize that is something you wanted to do, let's actually get like some tactical of someone who might be thinking about, should I go back to college, or I'm thinking about going to college or going down that path. What step did you go through to apply to UT or University of Toledo, our local college, getting classes set up, figuring out the path you need to take as we talk, all those, what were the steps to doing that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I had a lot of help from Christy, but I think initially...
Christy's my daughter.
Initially, really, it was just the decision itself, right? Like, I'm going to do this, and putting one foot in front of the other. So there's a lot of resources out there online, and they really make it easy, especially colleges. Colleges, once you enroll, it means more money for them. So, they're gonna make it an easy step-by-step thing, and there's lots of videos that you can watch. And so I had more difficult time like getting my medical records together, like vaccinations and stuff like that.
Okay. And
were there a lot of it's been so long since I went to college, a lot of written applications, or was it online stuff, or any interviews that you had to do? No interviews?
No. It was all
personal statement. You got to do a personal statement for college? No,
online.
So it's this online application.
Yeah, send in your transcripts and you get a decision.
So now once you got accepted and you were enrolled, so you wanted to eventually get into med school, become a doctor. What was your plan on course of action for the semester, setting up the classes you need to take so you're meeting your electives and your other requirements in order to get there? Like, kind of do you work backwards, or how did you come up with that? Did you meet with a counselor?
So yeah, luckily they make it a really easy process, especially if you tell them up front what you want to do. So when I applied, I had already declared a major. I knew that a biology major meets like almost all, if not all, of the prereqs for medical school. And then I listed under a pre-medical track, and the counselor that was, or the academic advisor that was given that I was given was put together a plan, and I've just followed it as...
I get asked a fair amount just on social media, but you would know the answer better. So a lot of people ask, do I have to do a bachelor of science to go to medical school? Like, some people want to do a psychology major or maybe reading or something. What degrees? So you can do any major you want as long as you hit the basic criteria, right?
Yeah, you can.
'Cause I think a lot of people want to know that.
Yeah, I've heard of people majoring like theology, but as long as you hit the prereqs for medical school,
Right.
you're you're able to apply. So I think if you're not gonna go and get a bachelor of science, I think that's the easier route because those courses are pretty much built into what you need to get your degree. You would have to work with an academic advisor to make sure you meet all the requirements before going into medical school or applying to medical school.
So far you've done well. I mean, you've been on Dean's List twice, right? Well, straight A's, okay.
Yeah.
Straight A's. So what's been any courses hard for you at all, or tell us about your courses. Like, what's some of your courses been? What's been tough? I know you mentioned college algebra was getting a little.
Yeah, I since I'm a non-traditional student, I think math especially is just it's more than just the refresher that they'll give you at the beginning of the course. So I think that's been difficult for me because it's so far behind me. It feels like that. Not that I've lost the knowledge at all. Like, I'll have moments throughout the week where I'm working on it and I'm like, oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
But definitely that's been the toughest.
Well, because math in a big way keeps in a lot of subjects, it builds and builds and builds upon it. So then, like you're saying, getting back into all of that takes time.
Yeah, and all the little rules that apply to certain things that don't apply to other math problems, just like remembering those. And everything else, like I love the science courses. And
yeah, do you know what level you have to take through for algebra, or you have to take, or what's the highest math you have to take in medicine?
I think it's calculus.
Yeah, so you have to take
through
the calculus, because that's what you did, right?
Right. I mean, it's usually threes, right? So the calculus is calculus 1, 2, and 3, wasn't it? And
I'm
just
surprised.
like organic chemistry.
I'm surprised. Why do you think you have to take? I've always wondered that a bit in the back of my mind. Why does medicine need that much calc?
I have no idea. But
you have to realize, you need that much.
But you have to realize too, like, having gone to medical school and now being a physician, 90% of the stuff that I learned in college probably isn't applicable to what I do now. It's just not. So I mean, it's stuff that you learn. But
they have to start it. I mean, that's just like anything. You have to start a broad base of knowledge, right. And then you like as you focus in. Medical school is focusing in more. In medical school, a big part of it, right? Because I have a lot of friends in medical school right now, and it's introducing you to a lot. You get the base things the first couple.
Well, maybe
years,
it teaches you how to think analytically or something by doing stuff like that. I mean, obviously you're using your mind a lot through these courses, so maybe it's just about training your mind how to.
The big thing is, though, all of that comes together. It's kind of also it shows that you can get through certain stuff.
Right.
It's supposed to be difficult because then it's very difficult when you have to go through residency and other stuff. So you need people that can get through. It's like a threshold test almost.
Yeah, it's like Christie's in organic chemistry right now, and that's a weed out course.
It's tough. I mean,
I don't think. I mean, you don't have to apply any of that. And
I mean, you learn about atoms and all kind of different things like based on the periodic table, but I don't know as if I use any of that anymore. I mean, it's just knowledge you have, but I don't know in the real world how, unless you're some type of.
It depends, but you never know what things are going to be.
Yeah,
how you eventually.
It's just the way life is now. But I mean, if somebody told me they didn't go to college and they're a neurosurgeon, I'd say, yeah, you could be, because what I learned, what I need to know is medical school clinicals. You need a basic set of medical knowledge that comes in your first 2 years, and then you have clinicals where you learn how to interact with patients and families and doctors, and then neurosurgery, you learn how to become a neurosurgeon in residency. So. I mean,
but that's not like a great statement, because you can't get to each next step before you have the previous steps. You can't just get into medical school without having that base of knowledge. You'd be missing so many things.
Well, you may say that, but I don't agree with that totally. I mean, maybe college trains your mind how to think a certain way, how to look at things and analyze them, and how to work through problems. Maybe that helps you then when you next level into medical school, but you have to realize a lot of what you learn in the first years of medical school is memorization too. You're memorizing diseases and just.
Well, but for example, trying to jump it, you technically don't need everything from earlier math to do calc, but you're building up a base.
You're building a base, yeah.
So you can't really. It's kind of.
I'm not saying all or nothing, Kevin. I'm just saying I bet you could. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is tradition. It's the traditional way. I mean, there are things that are becoming not as traditional. Mm-hmm. Now they have the jump programs are there. Like in 6 years, you can go through college and medical school. So you do 3 and 3, right? And so that's cutting short college. Is that good or bad? I mean, I don't know, but
so I think. But a key thing is that that is how it is, though.
Right.
So
that's how it is.
So it is how it is. So how have you been able to navigate it? Or what do you think are some key things? You've been doing well. You've been getting straight A's. What are some things that you think have been helping to lead to your success? You're also very busy. You're raising a kid with Christy. Yeah. What do you think has been key factors that have led to your success?
I think it's more or less just doing it. I know that sounds that's not super helpful, but yeah, I think for most days I don't get around to studying or doing classwork until 7, 8 o'clock at night. And you can be tired, whatever, but you've got to push through it.
I mean, that's called perseverance.
You have to keep going regardless.
Yeah.
So a bit too, would you say consistency? You're consistently doing that, and again, it's building up over time. If you are putting in, you might not want to. You got to put in a couple hours tonight, a couple hours tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge thing. I remember in college. If I know kids that you let stuff stack up for a while and then all of a sudden they try to learn everything the day before a test, and that is much worse, compared to breaking it down. All those days you don't feel like putting in a couple hours doing it, you then are in a way better position and you're not as stressed either, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what's been different about college and all the rest of school that I've done is being early on things, just getting things done, because that's not how it was, and I wasn't able to enjoy any free time, in other schooling, because even though I wasn't doing the work, I was pushing it off, and the anxiety of that was like, man, I don't want to do it, but like it's just, it's at the back of your mind. And
yeah, no, I think that's a huge thing is that anxiety, or like knowing in the back of your mind that you have to still do something, so you're pushing it off. But sometimes it's just like when there's something you need to get done. It's better just to do it right away, because if not, you're going to think about it all that time, and it's going to take up mental space. Then you end up doing it, and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And then you could have just not worried about that all the time.
It's never as bad as you think.
I mean, do you have any tips, like there's got to be a lot of people who are married and maybe have children and are starting college or in college. Like, what are some tips that you could offer people about just to get through classes and get home and take turns taking care of the kids and actually having a social life and going out once in a while, right? I mean,
I think communication is key for sure. I'm very lucky. Christy is a very organized person, so before we even started the semester, she was like, oh, this is how our schedule is set up. She printed out a schedule, and but I think definitely communicating your needs, like, hey, I have a test coming up, and I really cannot be that involved this week.
Yeah.
And it's all compromised. So, yeah, it may suck not having help for a couple of days, but in the end, you guys are both pushing through. If that's your situation, that's our situation. It's worked out so far. I think having a social life, it's difficult, right? I mean, for us, there's not a lot of like-minded people, especially in the class that I'm taking. I'm a first year, but I'm 22, so it's a lot of people that are like 18, 19, fresh out of high school, and then my priorities in life are a lot different than somebody that is 18 or 19 or doesn't have kids. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but it definitely limits who I would want to be around.
Because that's something I wanted to touch on too, is it is way different. The majority of people that are maybe not the majority, but a lot of people, you go straight from high school into college. So there's younger people, like you said, with different priorities. I think a lot of people are always worried too, when is too late to go to college, or am I going to stand out? Even you're 3 years older than the average person, but you're not too far off. There's some people who are 30 or 40. Do you think it matters, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think it matters. I think in my own head I stick out more than I actually do. But I sat next to somebody in my biology class last semester that was over the age of 30, and she had like 4 kids, I think, 3 or 4, and that was her situation. Everybody's situation is different. I don't think anybody is ever too old for college. You're gonna be as old as you're gonna be in 4 years. If whether you decide to go to college or not, or pursue a higher education, master's degree or whatever you're putting off or deciding whether you want to do. So I'd say go for it if it's something that's possible. If you are able to stay stable during that process, if you have the support around you, I wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great phrase. People will say, you're going to be, the time's going to pass one way or another. You might as well do the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
So whether that's going to college, taking a new course, doing this, doing that, you might as well get it done. Then you're going to look back and be happy you did for the most part.
Yeah, I remember talking to, when I moved out here, I met a guy and I ended up working for him, putting in commercial windows. And when the thought of going to college first came up, and seriously considering it, I talked to him about the path, and he told me, it may be a 15, 17-year path, but you could be here putting in windows 17 years later, kicking yourself for not doing it. So why not?
That's a good point.
I think it's Jeff Bezos, before he started Amazon, it's the regret minimization framework, where he always thought what when I'm older, when I look back, what will I regret the least? So just like you're saying, you're going to regret it a lot less if you went out and tried or did, and you look back and you did that, versus if you sit there and just stay in your comfort zone your entire life, you might look back when you're older and just say, what if I did this? What if? So I think it's almost always better to just
and
take
I think it
action.
seems daunting, but I know time goes fast. When I first started out in college and wanted to be a neurosurgeon, it just goes by, residency was a blink of an eye. I thought 7 years would never go by, and then it did. So I think you have to have that mindset, life's going to move on and it's going to go by, and try to enjoy it and make the best of it. So if you're going to do it, you might as well try hard and be successful at it,
And I think when you were becoming a neurosurgeon, that's a very long path, but you're not thinking about 10, 15 years at once. You're just taking it one day at a time, I'd imagine. Right? You
are, but you're always thinking of that end point. When there's days when you're just exhausted and you're giving up, you have to think of what the end point is too, right? Mm-hmm. Your why. So
yeah.
But on a lighter topic, what's it been like being a dad, first time dad?
It's not anything like I expected.
What's different? What did you expect, and what's it been like?
I think that I minimized it in my head a little bit, because I have a lot of younger siblings and I was really involved in taking care of them as a kid myself. But definitely those first couple months, I underestimated the sleep deprivation. I remember for probably 2 weeks straight, I would work 12 to, I remember one of the days was 15 hours. I worked for 15 hours. I came home, and obviously Chrissy had been home with him all day, so I was going to take over, and I took over for the night, and he did not, sleep more than an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time, and that really accumulates that sleep debt, or I don't know if that's a real thing, but felt like it.
Well, I think you definitely, cognitive abilities are severely impaired the less sleep you have. So I think it's almost impossible to avoid talking to new parents. That's always a thing. Yeah. That's why people always joke, if there's some productivity guru, it's always somebody who's single or doesn't have kids. Exactly. And they're talk to me once you have a couple kids and you try to get work done. And so I think sleep definitely builds up on you. But do you think that was the hardest phase, those first couple months, or what do you think?
I think every phase has been difficult for its own reasons. we had a long period of time where we, went to the doctors trying to figure out he had congestion and was coughing all the time, and we just really couldn't get a solid answer. I don't think that that's any fault of the doctors that were working with him. I think it's just process of elimination at that point. He's so young. He can't really speak to you about what his symptoms are other than what we can say that we notice.
Yeah.
So that was difficult, just not getting a straight answer and trying a bunch of different things on him, and eventually it just straightened out on its own. But that was difficult, and then we had a period of time where he was not okay with solid foods, was not wanting to try anything. That was difficult.
And what are a few of the things you're most excited as Archer gets a little bit older or can do things such as talking, or if you teach him activities, or I don't know?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. He's starting to talk a little bit, couple words here and there.
Yeah.
No is really big right now, which is I'm not too stoked about, but I am excited for that. Just kind of being able to pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Is gonna be cool.
He likes to make tons of gibberish sounds too. He's got something. He knows something's going on.
He knows what he wants too. It's just that he can't tell you.
He's in a good phase right now.
Yeah.
He's pretty happy.
Yeah. He's always been a happy kid. So that's talking is definitely something I'm excited about, and I think I've gotten him up to play the piano a couple times.
Yeah, that was cute. He was sitting there hitting the keys while you were playing.
So I think it'll be cool when he is fully aware of what's going on.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for over a couple more years and stuff. As you can teach him reading with him, or teaching him a game like chess or something like that. It'd be cool to see. Or that it might be longer. I don't know the exact milestones, but as but I'm saying, or once he can kick a soccer ball, or you guys want him to play golf, and I'm saying
play baseball.
Yeah, different things like that. I think that's a cool thing where you get to do with your kid.
What did he think? You guys went to a University of Toledo basketball game the other day. You were in the student section, right? How did he like it? How did you guys like it too? That was your first college event, right?
Yeah.
Sporting event.
I liked it. Well, I've been to an IU women's basketball game.
But I mean, your college, University of Toledo.
Yeah. So Archie liked it. I mean, he was a little wriggly, but he loves clapping right now. So other people clapping around him was great. It encouraged him.
It's funny. It's funny too, because he can just pass out in the noisiest areas. You guys went to the Walleyes game too, which is a local hockey team. And that picture you sent, he was just passed out and everything. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, have horns and stuff going in the background, and he's out.
Yeah. Were there a lot of people there in the student section?
Yeah, it was packed.
Really?
I mean, there was people sitting very close.
And do people wear their UT jerseys and stuff, or not really?
They came out in the beginning and had put jerseys on certain seats.
Oh, really? Wow.
Sections that were
That's
reserved.
cool.
I don't know how that works, but
I mean, were people wearing their University of Toledo shirts and stuff?
Yeah.
Did you guys have them?
I did not.
Wow.
No college enthusiasm. Well, Archie had one.
Well, too, I don't think you didn't mention this, but my dad, that's where you went to undergrad, too.
Yeah, that's where I went, University of Toledo.
So,
how do you think it's changed over the last...
Oh my God, the campus is. The University of Toledo is a gorgeous campus. I mean, you guys have probably most of you've never been there, but
look up a picture.
Yeah, it is really a very nice campus and very cool architecture. And over the years, it's just exploded, more buildings and dorms for students. And it's one of those things. They just kept the architecture the same. They put in money as they built to make it look the way it should look instead of doing things mishmash. So I mean,
it's a lot bigger than when you went there now too.
Yeah,
it's a huge commuter school. I think they've got 20,000 undergrad, but a lot of them are people who commute to it.
Yeah.
So it is cool to see. But yeah, it looks really cool. I love that the University Hall, or the clock tower.
Yeah.
If you're looking on from Bancroft, that's a really cool.
I mean, it's an old university.
Yeah. But it's exciting. So I mean, you're in phase one right now.
Phase one at the very beginning.
Phase one, it's undergrad and then med school. But it'll be cool. We can do regular updates of how things are going. It'll be cool to look back at each phase.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be cool.
Oh, you gotta manifest it, yeah.
Yeah.
Visualize success.
I can visualize it right now.
Yeah, so that's got the white coat energy. All right, but I hope everyone has a great day.
Yep. Have a nice night.